This evening is, above all, a powerful testimony to the importance of arts education. When Maria and Ray and I got together for lunch last summer and they convinced me to give my okay to this wonderful event, a great cyber search began. And as the email net was cast, messages began pouring in from all over the world. Thailand, Venezuela, states as far away as California and Texas. Messages from the offices of university department heads, NASA, Park Avenue law firms, heads of major museums, from the set of the miniseries The Pacific, the New York City Ballet, and corporations and firms bearing your names. That you are successful is no doubt. That you are successful in part because of arts education, you have told me so as much in your many, many communications. One businessman alumnus wrote that he thinks of the theater company every time he gives a presentation. A lobbyist on Capitol Hill says, I still think of those times in my daily life. And from New Jersey, I am very grateful for the way it prepared me for my daily life, on stage and off. And finally, on that stage, I was my happiest, realizing my aspirations and potential. Maria has asked that my remarks be filled with stories, and I shall begin with the most important one. The opening night of My Fair Lady, the first show that I did at Holy Family, my mom was there, and we talked with Father Rowan during intermission. Isn't it wonderful, said my mother, of course. Another faculty member joined us, one of our more straight-laced types. Yes, she agreed, but there weren't many lessons completed last week. The whole school was too busy singing and dancing. Without dropping a beat, Father John Rowan replied, I wish the whole school could be singing and dancing every week. Now, those of you who are scientists know that a reaction cannot occur unless certain conditions are met. Father John Rowan created a school in which imagination was celebrated and nurtured. Conditions were met there. Freedom to excel and dream was granted. We were a holy family indeed. Maria, stories it shall be. For it was so many stories we told in those short 9 years. Stories of love triumphing over hatred. Stories of this great nation torn apart by bigotry. Stories of families hiding from the horrors of war. Of lives cut short by drug use. Stories plucked from American literature. Side-splitting tales of hapless cowboys who would just as soon pull out their guitars than their Remington revolvers. Of Times Square crapshooters, and a loopy answering service operator on the loose in a New York City awash in primary colors. Why was all this so intoxicating that you would take time to travel in your Sunday clothes to celebrate it after so many, many years? Arts touch deeply. To be involved in them, particularly the performing sort, and Tim indicated this, is to be fully and completely alive. One has to think and behave on many different levels. No performance, as you know, is ever the same, and each entrance you make is a dangerous leap indeed. The type of leap that shapes character. Story number 2, which I'll call The Rich Drive Shiny Black Cars. Soon after I married my lovely wife, Carol, and started designing for the soaps, I was crossing the street near Juilliard. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shiny Rolls Royce coming down the street. As soon as I got to the Lincoln Center side, I heard someone call out my name. I turned around, and out of that chauffeur-driven car leaped a well-dressed young man. "Do you remember me?" "Holy Family, I'm so-and-so." "Gosh, I remember so fondly My Fair Lady and your drama lit class my senior year, and when I saw you, I just had to stop." "Of course I remember you. Thank you for the kind words." I then went straight for the obvious and pointed to the rolls. "Oh, I was very lucky," he said. "I was on the original team that invented the barcode." Now, it certainly wasn't drama education that got him that car. But somehow, in our brief encounter on that street, it was implied that somehow it was part of his whole picture. Performers, many of you were, but what about our crews and support staff? Raise your hands, those of you, because you deserve a round of applause. You never got applause in those days, and I thought you deserved it tonight. You know, we never had an industrial arts or trade classes at HF. It was really strictly a preparatory school, calculus and the like. But down at the end of that hall, the auditorium became a laboratory and a shop where you learned electrics, carpentry, rigging, and other such skills. Some of you, in fact, seemed to live down there. I remember one, Bob Satriano. Where's Bob? There you are. I thought maybe Bob had a bed in a hot plate back there. He seemed to be always covered in sawdust. And I have an indelible picture of Sister Saint's Spanish vocabulary opening that metal stage door and just glaring in at us. Satch, I think it's best that you follow Sister to Spanish class. But what a terrific education in construction skills you all got. For all of you, performers and techies alike, it seemed like there was a silent waltz beckoning you to that end of the building. And it changed you somehow, I believe. Many of you have shared with me fond memories of our school trips to Europe. Remember seeing the Eiffel Tower for the first time, or bounding up the grand staircase in the Fenice Theater in Venice, 2 steps at a time, filled with excitement to be in that theater where Rigoletto and La Traviata were first performed. Now, many of you say you want to know what happened to me after I left Holy Family, so I have a few more stories left. I went to teach in the Educational Theater Department at NYU. While there, I played Doc Gibbs in Our Town for a long run. Bill and Rita, I think, are here tonight. You remember that play. The young man who played my son George was none other than Tom Ford, who became an international fashion icon, head of the House of Gucci. At NYU, it was HF student Peggy McInerney who recommended me for an adjunct teaching position at the Tisch School of the Arts, where a young actor called Alexander Baldwin enrolled in my theater games class. Alec Baldwin is now a household name. And who would believe that this former student of mine would host the Academy Awards, or that several of you would appear on Broadway, in film, and in TV series like Sex and the City? At the risk of playing Drop That Name, I must share with you the fact that my latter years working in the soaps were pretty heady doings for the son of a used car dealer and an office secretary. Standing on the red carpet year after year at the Emmy Awards never lost its excitement for this kid who used to hole himself up in his room playing original Broadway cast albums on my Victrola. My arts education. One night stands out during those Manhattan years. This story I'll call I Am Simply Thunderstruck. Remember those of you who were in the cast of Bells Are Ringing going to see the authors of Bells Are Ringing, Betty Comden and Adolph Green, in their 2-person show at the Morosco Theater on Broadway. and remember that I had arranged in advance for us to go backstage to meet them. Some of you remember that? Hold that thought. Years later, another of Comden and Green's musicals was mounted in Central Park. Marilyn Putnam, our ABC wardrobe mistress, was great friends of this famous show business team, and she got herself, Carol, and I seats in the very front row. The set was a huge replica of the Brooklyn Bridge, and it was spine-tingling to watch a talented company singing out, "New York, New York, it's a hell of a town," in the park that anchors that great city. What we didn't know was that Comden and Green attended every night, intermission. They got up, and Marilyn called them over to our seats to introduce us. Somehow I blurted out, "My high school cast of Bells Are Ringing visited you backstage years ago." To which an 80-year-old plus Betty Comden replied, "Of course I remember." I pointed to each kid and guessed which part they played correctly. In 1998, I left show business, although I do occasionally serve as guest artist in schools, colleges, and regional theaters, to return once more to the not-for-profit world. An interest in fitness and nutrition has led me to the YMCA, where I've rekindled, after all these years, doing what we all did at Holy Family High School, building strong kids, strong families, and strong communities. Now to get back to my original thought before I finish, the importance of arts education. As plans for this evening evolved, people came forward, most notably Kathy McDonald, who was in the class of '77. She was in Little Women, and suggested that it not all end here. What that would look like is up to you. Some have suggested a charity or foundation that might offer such things as teacher training, scholarships, student performance, workshops, or other things. That is altogether possible, but again, that's up to you. If you think that's a viable idea and would like to help set it up, go to Facebook. Maria, you go to Facebook, then you go on to arts groups, search groups, and then search the Holy Family Theater Company reunion. And if you want to help us, we need attorneys, we would need financial people, we need all sorts of things, you know, if that's something that you would like. In finishing, I'd like to offer you one last thought. The sentiment I've chosen is from Stephen Sondheim and Richard Rodgers' lovely little musical, Do I Hear a Waltz? It's a story about It's a musical about an American school teacher who goes to Venice and is forever changed by the beauty of that city and its people. Sound familiar? She describes Venice as if, quote, someone drew plans like a set for a stage, and someone threw colors all over the page. And then she exclaims, and Cliff, this one's for you, look, they even painted the damn sky. So, I'd like to send you out with this American school teacher's thoughts. Thank you so much, friends, wasn't it fun? Let's think of this now and then. Please keep in touch, I wish we were just beginning to meet again. Did it go by so quickly? Really, it seems a crime. But thank you so much for something between ridiculous and sublime. Thank you for such a little but lovely